To master salary negotiations, you need to do two things well. You have to know how to identify what the market is willing to pay, and then secondly, you have to be prepared to walk away. Once you master those two things, you will never have an unsuccessful salary negotiation ever again. With regards to knowing how much the market is willing to pay, head over to Google and search the average salaries in your geographic location. Now, please note that what you find on Google won't be information that represents the high income earners. That's just the average. You're just going to use this as a starting point. After you know what the average is, head over to a specialist site. Now, in every geographic location, this is different. In my geographic location, there's a website called OfferZen that has excellent information regarding compensation. That is the source of information that I use to help guide my salary negotiations. If you do not have access to this in your geographic location, you will have to use one that's specialized to your geographic location. And if you're not sure which one to use or which one is respected by employers, simply ask them what they use to negotiate salaries with. Oftentimes they'll just tell you. If they're being vague as to what they use, they're trying to lowball you. So you then have to jump the gun and tell them of the websites and resources that you're using to help guide your salary expectations. Other simple ways of gathering information about what the market is willing to pay is by simply looking at the job post and spotting the salary that is already on the job post. Another technique is by looking at the years of experience that the employer requires. Generally speaking, the more years of experience that a job post demands of you, the higher the demands from your side should be with respect to compensation. Be on the lookout as well for any titles of senior rank and above. That's usually an indication that the compensation will be high. Take note of the company size and the reputation of the company. A bonus tip as well is if it's a publicly listed company, have a look at their balance sheet. It will usually give you an indication as to how much money this company has and how much leeway you can have during negotiations as to pressing them for high compensation. Pay close attention to the headquarters of the company and their respective divisions across the world. If it's a company whose headquarters are based in a location where the currency is stronger than your local currency, then it usually means that they're willing to compensate a lot higher than the average compensation that your local companies will pay. For example, I have had this experience a number of times, particularly with companies based in the UK or in America. They usually pay 30% more than the companies here in South Africa do. And now, when it comes to walking away, this cannot be done if you do not have high self-esteem and you genuinely believe that you have the requisite skills to do a good job and that there's demand for your talents. If you have a low self-esteem, you're going to accept lowball offers. However, when you have a healthy sense of self-worth, you're not going to accept disrespect from these employers. So this is largely psychological. You have to do the work internally to change how you view yourself. And with just these two things, you can go from getting a boost of around 10 to 20%, which is standard, to a boost from about 20 to 250%. And I'm not even exaggerating. I personally have negotiated and successfully gotten a 200% pay increase by switching from one job to another job. Everything I say, I've done personally myself. So these are the things that are required in order to negotiate a great and successful salary increase. To close things off, remember, never negotiate from a point of desperation. As soon as you reach a point of desperation, you're going to accept anything and everything that the employer gives you. Also understand that whenever an employer asks you for your payslip, they're trying to rip you off. There's no need for them to know what it is that you were earning in your previous company. All they need to do is compensate you on the value that you're bringing to the organization. So whenever they ask you for your payslip, have your guard up. Something that a lot of people aren't aware of is that the more money you get right now and negotiate successfully right now, the more money you can successfully negotiate for in the future. When you earn a low salary, the next employer is going to try to keep you at that low salary. However, when you earn a high salary, the next employer will pay you even more because you're earning more. So it's very important that you strike the perfect deal that gets you the most amount of money possible. And here's a bit of wisdom from me to you. When you negotiate your salary, you have to understand this is deeper than just money. You have to understand why it is you're fighting for so much money to begin with. For me, that's my kids. The higher salary that I get, the better life I can provide for them. For you, it may be something else. However, every single percent, every single perk and benefit will have a real impact on your life. You're going to be feeding yourself with this, taking care of yourself with this money. You don't ever want to find yourself in a position whereby you're short of money at the end of the month and you regret not asking for more.